Hi everyone, my name is Abraham and welcome to my channel. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about um, National Coming Out Day. So, um, like I say, as you may know, based on the camera or the description, that I am just wanting to share just a little bit about my coming out story. That way, in case like say somebody might want to um, share their story with me, want to reach out to me to see maybe if I may be able to kind of provide a little bit more information, anything like that. So um, one thing I want to kind of acknowledge is that when it comes to coming out, not everybody's story is going to be the same. So when it came to my story, there were many moments where I felt like I had to come out. So I'm gonna kind of break that down. So one of the times I had to come out, because first and foremost was come out to my friends. Um, and this was back in high school. I believe I was about 17-year old, and honestly, that was actually probably one of the most easier times coming out, even though it was kind of semi stressful. It was still a time where, back in the 90s, being out, being gay wasn't necessarily the most talked about thing or most socially acceptable. Not how it is nowadays. Um, so when I came out to them, it was like say a little bit hard to necessarily swallow, but ultimately, I did tell them, and they were just like, well, we already knew. So it was, necessarily that much more easier. And I kind of came in more based on the fact, like say, even the earlier part where I was just simply talking about that, I'm still me, nothing has changed. All you know is just, I like guys. So all in all, that kind of went, a little bit more smoothly. Uh, but kind of shortly following after that, I was outed in high school. And that wasn't the most pleasant thing to have happened. I know a lot of people hopefully never go through this particular part of their stage when it comes to coming out, but being outed was not fun. I remember going out to the high school that day, um, walking into the school, and then hearing the jocks, you know, openly make fun of me. I wasn't too sure exactly what it was at the point, but then I realized shortly after that I knew what they were talking about. I knew exactly what conversation were being had, and I realized that I did not have any safe place to go. I just felt so panicked um, at that moment where I just, you know, I had to treat things that day like nothing like truly happened. So I like, oh, okay, well, I gotta go to first period. I gotta go to class. I gotta listen to these lectures, and then coming across someone and you know thinking that I'm not saying that they had anything to do with it because I definitely knew who, but there was still some conversations being had involving this set person, and it was a little troubling to know that this was something that they may have you know added on to it, and then at the time it hurt because this was someone that I confided with, and you know just being openly honest about it, and it just kind of troubled me in the end. But back in high school, you just kind of think, oh my god, my life is over. You just go to the most darkest place then. But, you know, after that, then I realized, well, there's no else place where I could be than just be me. And I kind of feel like, okay, well, I could, grow from there. And, ultimately, I mean, I did, you know, the teasing, the taunting, the being made fun of, the words being used was a thing of the past. They just couldn't hurt me like they could before. So that was my kind of small bit whenever I came out, and also out in high school. Luckily for myself, I think that was like during my junior and senior year, so it wasn't something that um, I had to live with for too long in you know the social hierarchy that's called high school. Um, so another part coming out was coming out to my parents. You know, there have been numerous times where I was almost caught, but there was one day where I do deal with anxiety and panic attacks, and for some reason that day I was just so overly panicked where I just I couldn't hold it in anymore. I mean, I was just manically just so nervous that I couldn't keep it still anymore. So I sat my parents down. I sat my mom down and my dad, and just, you know, told them, that I was gay. You know, and growing up in a Catholic church, growing up Hispanic, this is not something that you actually say so openly. This is not something that is just so honored and so respected. But this was something that who I was, and it was a tough conversation to have. Honestly, it was a tough conversation to get them to understand because, well, how could they? I try to explain it in a way to where it's like, this way that they're able to understand the fact that my parents are attracted to each other because of the connection that they have. Well, I try to explain that into a way towards like, well, that's how I feel like, when when I'm attracted around guys, when I'm around guys, there's just something within me that's just like, it's more drawn to them. I mean, and that's just me. But this was, and after that point, it was slightly discussed where it was like, okay, you know what, they thought this was a phase. I didn't need to involve my brothers and sisters. I just needed to you know put it under the rug, squashed. So we never really talked about it after that. I had to bring it up again when there was a point in my life where I needed to tell them what was going on. I just had gotten into some not so great path in my life, and that could probably be it for another video. You know, willing, I guess, the comments in the comment section down below. But like I said, there was a point in my life where I had to bring it up again. And it was basically based on the relationship that I was in at the time. And one of the things that my dad had said to me was, "I love you. No matter what, you're still my son." And that honestly brought me to a point where, that was one of the things I really needed to hear. I understand that it's going to be hard for my dad to accept me or my mom to accept me for who I am. I mean, there's always a lot on the plate, but when your child hears that, and mind you, I wasn't a child at the time. I was in my 30s. So like I said, doesn't matter what age you come out, or you have to be repeated it over and over and over again. Um, at that time, I was in my 30s, and it was just more comforting to myself that my dad said that. Those are those words I'm gonna live internally with inside my heart. Um, and then shortly after that, I had to verbally say those words. They had to come out to my brother and my sisters. And one thing that they actually told me was that fact that you know they knew all this time, and they didn't want to come out and you know out at me, I guess you can say. They wanted me to come to them, tell them about me. And honestly, those were the very hard, touching moments that I think about during these days, during these times. And that I just know that moving on forward, with any relationship that I'm in, that I can be openly and honest with them and tell them, like, if there's someone that's, very special in my life that, I want to introduce to them, you know. And so that's probably where I would actually kind of conclude this video here. There's just a lot of different ways that, you know, people can come out, and it's not just a one-time thing. It can be an ongoing occurrence. And I think it's probably the reason why we have National Coming Out Day every single day this time during this month every year, because of the fact that um, bringing this type of social awareness, it's going to be a never ending process every year. As our generations tend to grow, that there's always going to be someone out there that's going to feel like they're alone. There's always someone out there that needs that connection. There's someone always out there that's wants to be themselves, that wants to come out and wants to start living their life, but is afraid that that they can't. So, like I said, that concludes my coming out story. Um, so if you feel connected to it, comments about it, like, subscribe. Like I said, put the comments down in the comments box below. I would love to hear, like, say, maybe what you might have gotten out from the story here, what you would like to, if you like to connect, things like that. Like I said, or if you just want to kind of like talk one on one, I'd be happy to talk to you, a little bit more depth about what's been going on. But as far as, like, say, if you kind of like this content, definitely let me know. Um, I may just kind of like say do more based on the series. I'm not even sure what I want to do with my channel, but like say in this case here, it might be just more like a video diary about maybe current events, what's going on with my personal life, things that matter. So, but like I said, definitely like, subscribe, comment, and I hope to check you out in the next video. Bye.